I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could just stay standing for a second, just remember all those folks in armed services and emergency services and anybody who may have passed locally in the community. Just remember them now. Thank you. So welcome everybody to the Village of Highland Falls meeting, Tuesday, February 17th. Daniel DeFalco. Are you here?
I'm here.
Daniel, how are you?
Good. Thank you.
Daniel's here tonight to talk about a wonderful prospect called All Aboard Hudson Valley, which is as everyone knows on this side of the river, for us, the train that passes through is mostly freight. But this endeavor is to hopefully eventually get enough communities signed on to perhaps propose that we get passengers. So the town recently passed a memorialization resolution, I guess is the best way to say it, in favor of this. There's several communities that have signed on. And it just came the timing that the town meeting was before ours, so they did it. Usually we're the trailblazers. But just kidding, Councilman. Anyway, Daniel, do you want to add anything to that? Do you want to give a little speech?
Like
Sure, just come on up in the corner here and Trustee Carroll will share his mic with you.
All right, well, Mayor DeSalvo, Village Board Trustee, thank you for having me here this evening. It's a pleasure to speak with you all. My name is Daniel DeFalco. I am a Cornwall resident and the founder of All Aboard Hudson Valley, a grassroots organization focused on improving public transportation and mobility options for communities west of the Hudson River. You can be found on Instagram and Facebook. I'm here this evening to help introduce a resolution requesting a renewed feasibility study and a refreshed modern evaluation of implementing passenger rail service on the CSX River subdivision, commonly known as the West Shore Line. For decades, Orange and Rockland counties have existed and is widely recognized as a transit desert, with limited rail access, roads operating at or beyond capacity, and very little meaningful investment in west of Hudson public transportation. Recent developments such as congestion pricing, continued population growth, increased tourism attention, and stagnant rail service have only brought greater attention to a problem that residents have lived with for generations. The concept of West Shore passenger rail is not new. It was discussed in the 1980s, 1990s, and early 2000s, but those conversations never resulted in follow-through, a clear plan, or sustained state commitment. Today, New York State is preparing to undertake a new West Shore transit study to begin addressing some of these issues. And this resolution is about ensuring that passenger rail is placed at the forefront of that effort as a serious, viable option. This resolution sends a strong message that it is time to pursue purposeful and holistic solutions to our long-standing transportation deficiencies. Solutions that can provide west of Hudson communities with unprecedented connectivity, improved quality of life, and the potential for transformative economic impact. Town of Cornwall and Supervisor Josh Wojciechowski adopted this resolution back on January 20th. Since then, the resolution has been adopted by the Village of Haverstraw, Town of Highlands Board, and both the Orange County and Rockland County legislatures. We respectfully ask that the Village of Highland Falls join this growing coalition and help signal to New York State that the time has come to seriously invest in holistic solutions to our transportation challenges. And I'm happy to answer any technical questions, or if you want to dive into more of it. And thank you for your time.
No, I'm good. I mean, unless the board has any questions.
I didn't hear Cornwall. Have you spoken with Cornwall?
Yeah, Cornwall was the first town to adopt the resolution. Yeah, I worked with the Supervisor Josh Wojciechowski, and this is the first one we did.
And how far is it going to go just to improve?
So that's a good question. There are several different ways to look at how a service like this would operate, right? You can look at, I'm kind of looking at Newburgh as the northernmost terminus for regular commuter service daily. You can also look at you know, weekend or holiday service up to Kingston, you know, being that that's the gateway to the Catskills, there's a lot of attention from New York City residents there. Or if you want to look at it as a regional option, the rail alignment allows for a new station in downtown Albany to directly serve Albany. So there's several different options, and again, this is what, returning to a feasibility study and having this looked at, those questions are all being answered. What's the optimal northern terminus for this railroad?
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any residents have any questions?
Would it go all the way down to Hoboken?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Peter. So there's different options, again, that the study would reveal as to what's the best to get down to New York City. It can go to Hoboken. We're talking about possibly reviving the idea to bring rail over the Tappan Zee Mario Cuomo Bridge. That was originally proposed when the new bridge was under construction. There's also several tie points that you can work into in Jersey City that will bring you into Penn Station as well. So again, something that a feasibility study would answer.
You said that a study's been done before, right?
Yes.
So do you have a plan for after the study is complete? Obviously, it didn't make it past the study the first time, right?
Yeah.
So do you have like data on what exactly halted follow through the
Well,
first time?
I can tell you that, for example, in '97, when New Jersey Transit was looking at bringing the service from Hoboken to Nyack, one of the holdups there they had with CSX was installing sound barriers along the lines and grade crossing elimination. New Jersey Transit was, CSX cooperated with the study and was cooperating with New Jersey Transit. They, Transit at the time, decided to invest in their light rail system instead. They built their light rail system that goes through Jersey City. So as far as after the study, that's up to the stakeholders involved in New York State and CSX and whoever the passenger operator is to be selected as to if they say, okay, this is a viable project, the cost is something that we can do, we see the economic investment being worth the investment in constructing this, so it all depends on where the stakeholders are after the study.
I think specific to this one, it was 2003, right? And the
2003 was one of
feasibility Logistically, but now the technology, how we've changed, and it just makes it a better option, which is why we're revisiting.
Yeah, a lot has changed in the region, which is a lot of this.
With all your research, did you come across reasons why they, Rodney would remember, there was commuter passenger trains coming up here until 58.
Yeah.
Why they stopped?
Sure, so that was more a result of the times in the railroad industry. That was a time when you had a lot of the major passenger railroads in the area start going bankrupt. You had the New York Central, the Erie, the New Haven, they all started going bankrupt. And they were consolidated into what was known as Conrail. Conrail for a little bit had freight and passenger railroad operations. They dropped to the passenger rail. And part of Conrail's initiative to try and make a profit was to shrink the rail lines in the area. So their campaign, they ripped a lot of the rail that built this area out to try to consolidate it, if you will, and make the service more profitable. So, and that was also during a time when, the American public was kind of moving away from trains, it was moving more towards cars, and now that we see the value of passenger rail again in this country, there's so many projects going on all across the country where new passenger rail is being implemented, so why not the Hudson Valley?
About 10 years ago, wasn't there a catastrophe where a train derailed and they had the liquid tanker cars on the rail, and there was toxic waste spilled?
There's been several derailments in the line's history. It's not something that, again, passenger rail and freight railroad service on the same track is something that exists throughout the country. It's the norm throughout the country, so that's not something that played in the factor of why passenger rail was halted. That's just, investing in safety upgrades on the line through the years.
But CSX has consolidated their track utilization,
Yeah.
and they pulled up track, and so that all that would have to be expanded.
Good point, yeah, so the whole West Shore line was originally double tracked.
Yeah.
Now it's single track, and they've recently in the early 2000s installed several long passing sidings, one right by Bear Mountain State Park, where they've expressed interest in double tracking the line in the future. They have not made a move on it, you know, if they were approached with something that said, hey, the state will kick in money to double track your line and increase capacity, I think that may work somewhere in our favor.
Doesn't CSX own the dead,
CSX what?
own the deadline?
Correct, they do own it, yep, that's their line.
So
So
they're
it would require a state partnership with New York State and CSX, which is also important, the important point to point out. CSX is actively working with state DOT departments in Massachusetts and Virginia, along with the FRA and Amtrak to install new passenger rail on their infrastructure, on their lines in those states as well, so.
Do you have any state legislators in support of this?
Ca-
Assembly of senators?
County legislators right now, both the Orange and Rockland County legislators have signed off on this, and we're working with state legislators currently. discussing.
You're gonna need that.
Yep, absolutely.
Go on.
That's
So,
all.
You sure?
Good
shut
questions. Good questions, good points.
Look, my mother looked at me like that.
Well,
in your previous studies that they did, how did they address the rail going underneath of the heart of West Point? Because the tunnel's there.
Yep, good point. Going back to the West Shore, it was originally double track, so those tunnels still have those clearances in there. In the early 90s, if you see the freight trains out, I'm sure you see the double stack container trains. One of the improvements that they made was lowering the rail bed into the ground to make room for those clearances. But the tunnels are all wide enough to handle double tracks. And if not, if we're going to double track most of the line, there will be strategic areas where the line can go down to single track. And again, that's something that the feasibility study would determine is the best route. Where double track can work, where single track would work, and where interlocking would work to make the service operate there.
Okay, so I guess the follow-up would be this though. I understand how you can have better security on a freight line, but what kind of security are they going to need for passengers? Or, as far as screening them going underneath the track?
Through
I mean,
West,
underneath the tunnel.
through West Point?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Again, something the feasibility study would answer, but I would say, I don't know.
It's just something for you to put in your Rolodex.
Sure, very, very easy for anybody to jump on a freight train and go through that area and.
Yeah, but when you have rail cars full of passengers,
But yes, that would definitely be part of the study as to having,
secure.
yeah, exactly, national security issues, things
Thank
like that. Yeah.
well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
But we'll be passing it, I think, number 3 on the agenda.
Appreciate your time. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sean, is the mic out of commission?
Yep, unfortunately, right now.
This one works though, right?
No,
Sean, you
none of them do, unfortunately.
None of them are working?
Nope, so you just
Oh,
gotta
okay.
speak up.
All right, we can speak up, don't worry about that. All right, thank you very much, Daniel, we appreciate that. Is that good enough, loud enough? Okay. So, just a couple quick comments, because I don't want to wait till the end, I don't want to lose some of you, so. Chatter on social media, and you live in a small town, and you always have to dispel some rumors. So first I want to talk about July 4th. I know the snow is just starting to melt, but July 4th is something that's precious to this community, and I know there's a committee out there working on the festivities for the July 4th, and I think the board, and I won't speak for the board, but we support the 4th of July, its festivities, and those things that go with it. In the beginning stages, we were trying to do something with West Point, and as it's the 250th anniversary of the country, to try to work together with them and with fireworks and different festivities and stuff like that. But the committee that's out there doesn't want to do that, and that's totally fine. I mean, the village supports, if the committee wants to do fireworks, the more the merrier. So hopefully they can work out a schedule with the other municipalities in the community and try to make it so that we can all try to work together. I think that would be nice for the 250th anniversary if we can all kind of work together after 250 years. So I wish them well. I'm sure the board will figure out support. And we also appreciate, I know I appreciate that the town is back involved. And the Recreation Department has shown very much interest. And I think on a financial level, I think it would be great if the town and the village did something together. If we could bring that back to the town board, Councilman Leahy. That, you know, if the town decides to pony something up for the festivities, I think the village would be more than happy to do the same thing. It's a community-wide event. It doesn't belong to any one person, it's the community's event, so I think it's great, and I think it's fantastic, and I think the board supports that, those endeavors. To go along with that, also, 2026, is the 120th year anniversary of the Village of Highland Falls. The Village of Highland Falls was founded on October 13th, 1906. Actually, women voted here first to incorporate the Village of Highland Falls. It's a nice little tidbit to know, right? And I don't think that they should be merged together. You know, we're celebrating 250 years of the country. So we are planning to put on something later in October for the 120th anniversary of the village. And somebody said, why'd you start with 120? Well, I said, because why not? We've never done it, so let's do it now. And it could be another signature event in the community where we have another, you know, festival, fair, whatever we're gonna do. And I'd also like to have fireworks at that as well. So as we get into the budget process, we'll talk more about that as a board. But I say, the more festivities and things to do we have in this community, the better it makes us. Snow removal. Thankfully, I think this week, maybe, there's no snow. We've definitely had our fair share of snow in the community this year. I want to thank, I'm sure, you know, Trustee Gardula will echo this and later in her report. You know, the overall snow removal of the DPW, the coordination with the police department, fire department was out there shoveling hydrants. You know, you don't want to spend the money on snow removal. But once in a while, the good Lord sees fit to test us and send us 20 inches of snow. So we appreciate that, and we got through it the best way we could. I just want to thank everybody. We have a couple things to work on, but you don't usually get 20 inches of snow all the time. So, Norm, do you remember the last time we got 20 inches of snow? It's been a while, probably over a decade. So, you know, we got one or two new pieces of equipment that we were waiting for, and so I just appreciate them jumping all over the village, trying to widen streets and continue to remove snow. We had contractors come in, we also had the expense for that, but we do budget for that. And but the money is there for that. We try not to use it every year, but this year we, you know, got hit with 20 inches of snow. But it wasn't a record, believe it or not. 27.5 was the record. So even though we had some declared state of emergencies, the state declared one, the county declared one, we did one in the village. After talking with emergency services and different other groups, it felt the need to do that. So I thank everybody for that. Lastly, on my comments before we get into the agenda is the budget meetings have been decided and picked. We start next Thursday. I've done some extensive work with it already myself, just because, as I told the village clerk, I was in the office one night and jumped down a rabbit hole and just went through every line and did some work on them, and I'm happy to say we'll be at the tax cap on the general fund. So I feel very strongly about that. I know the board, we talked about it, every trustee felt strongly about that. So we wanted to make sure we were in that. And then as we get through the budget meetings, it's a little crazier this year, just because I feel like we lost 3 weeks of municipal life, just dealing with snow, and we had issues in Village Hall, we had no heat, we had senior center problems, but we got through all of it. And it was a good teamwork effort by the board and also the various village departments. So again, I thank them. Makes mayor being very easy, I'll tell you that much. We do have any other local organizations or elected officials comment? Councilman Leahy, anything, my friend? No? We did have a good meeting, what was it, 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago? Councilman Leahy and myself, we met, we had a conversation about a couple items, and he's working on stuff with his board, and we'll talk about some things on this side of the fence here, so that was a good meeting. I look forward to the next one. Any local organizations? Olga, you okay?
Well, good.
Okay, anybody else? New York Ford, you guys are on the agenda, so you gotta wait a little bit. Public comment on agenda items. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm a non-resident though, so I'd like.
Come
to
on
make
up. It's
preference.
fine.
Thank you.
We welcome everyone.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Malachi Cleary. I'm a resident of the city of Newburgh. I would like to comment on agenda item 3, West Shore Passenger Rail feasibility study. I would also like to thank Dan DeFalco of All Aboard Hudson Valley for bringing this to the village. I'm speaking here today because West Shore Passenger Rail is a plan that would not only benefit Newburgh, but our entire region. The West Shore used to be a passenger line up until the middle part of the last century when it was switched to freight. In fact, our region used to be served by a network of passenger rail lines that are all now gone. Decades of short-sighted decisions favoring automobile infrastructure have left our region a public transportation desert. Roads are increasingly congested, commutes are getting longer, and too many working people rely on taxis to get where they need to go. We need to make it easier to live here without owning a car. Widening roads and building more parking lots is not the solution. To serve the growing demands of our region, we need a bold and future-minded approach to transportation. We need the West Shore Railroad. Past studies have been done on this, but we are in a position, now more than ever, to make West Shore Passenger Rail a reality. South of us, work is underway on the Hudson Gateway project. This project will double rail capacity from New Jersey to New York City, making it possible for future city-bound rail passengers to run through Secaucus Junction and head straight into the city. Additionally, the revamp of New York Penn Station is projected to begin in late 2027. Infrastructure-wise, a fast and reliable one-seat ride from Highland Falls to New York City is within our reach. More importantly, we have the demand, the public support, and the overwhelming need for better public transportation across our region. The Rockland and Orange County legislatures have already voted to adopt this resolution along with other municipalities. I thank the Village of Highland Falls for standing with your neighbors and adopting this resolution as well. Together, as a united regional voice, we are taking the first step towards transforming our community's transportation system for the better. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on agenda items? I would just like to add with 2 quick points to this rail proposal and resolution that we're going to pass. I think the board, and I know for myself, we fully support the study and the idea and the hopefully major change that it would be, and I think bring to a lot of communities on this side of the river who have to deal with freight and dealing with the emergency response to the freight, what they carry and how they carry it and the response times. And I know in the Village of Highland Falls, and I also know the great folks down in Fort Montgomery who at their fire department, they do constant drills on, you know, rail safety and what goes on the rail, and we can find out, they get lists and all that stuff. But 2 things I don't want to see happen. You know, and as Trustee Ramus said, put this in your Rolodex too. I don't want to see the MTA tax return. We just got rid of it. It was a ridiculous amount of money that every municipality has to pay, from the school, the town, the village. So I don't want to see that return. And I don't think that this should be a silver bullet or an scapegoat for New York, the way they treat their road system. I mean, you know, if they're going to treat the rail system like they treat the road system, then, you know, this black hole that Albany creates up there with the billions of dollars for their budget, you know, the roads are garbage. I don't care. It doesn't matter what elected official you talk to. If they tell you that they're good, maybe they're tone deaf, maybe they're a lot of things. I don't know, but the roads are terrible. I mean, you know, you go to any other surrounding state, and it's like you're in like tranquility. I've had to replace 2 rims this year myself. You know, so it's crazy. The roads are in bad shape. I mean, there's potholes, there's frost heaves. I actually learned that term this year. I didn't know what it was. Does everybody know what a frost heave is in a road? When you're driving down the road and you think you snapped an axle, but you didn't hit a pothole. You said, I didn't see a pothole. It's that little upheave of the blacktop. like it goes right across the lane, so you can't like jerk off the road and go into the next lane, because there's another car there. So, jerk the wheel off and go to the other lane. I've had to replace 2 rims this year because of those stupid frost heaves. Ridiculous. I mean, R9W, we had a flood in '23, we're still waiting. You know, I'm still waiting for fresh blacktop on 9W. So, you know, any state politician that runs into me, that's the earful they're getting. It's just ridiculous. And we constantly get it because we have to keep our local roads top shape.
Right.
You know, I get calls for potholes, I get calls for this, I get, you know, it's never ending. I'm sure Councilman Leahy will start getting them in spring. So, you know, like, it shouldn't be one or the other. They should do it right, fund it right, and for once, have the infrastructure to do it. So, just take that with you. Anyway,
Absolutely.
sorry, I got on a little soapbox there. I'm listening to Mr. Wells too much on it. Okay, so next on the agenda is approve the bills and claims for warrant number 2509A for fiscal year 25-26 in the total amount of $163,756.03, of which general fund is $96,198.99, water fund is $18,790.54, sewer fund is $20,895.50, and the capital fund is $27,871 a year. I need a motion and a second and a roll call or discussion if we want. Motion by trustee Gargiulo, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Ramus, discussion?
Discussion.
Okay.
Yes, please.
On any specific item, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
a general statement and a specific item, yes.
Okay,
I'm gonna have to say no tonight, and I wanna say this clearly and respectfully, that I do not take voting no on the bills lightly. There are absolutely invoices here that are completely fine and deserve to be paid, but we do not get to pick and choose. We approve them as a batch. Keeping in mind that just shy of half of our estimated revenue comes from residents' taxes. When we vote to pay bills, we are spending your money. And I take that responsibility very seriously. I read every statement that comes in. I review every contract presented, and I ask questions when something doesn't make sense. And right now, some of this just does not sit right with me. We, as the trustees, do not receive regular financial reports, monthly revenue numbers, payroll totals, or budgets to actual tracking. And without proper reporting, we're being asked to approve spending without seeing the full picture. We are routinely paying late fees and finance charges. Yes, they are minimal, but they are 100% avoidable. And also in here, we have the subcontractor snow removal bills for the following the 2-foot storm. I come from 15 years running a contracted business, so I understand productivity and efficiency in relation to cost. We have multiple contractors submitting identical billing at top market rates, and we're using a plow truck to block off roads for that clearing when a plastic barricade would suffice. That does not reflect responsible spending. You said we have the money in the budget for that spending, but it's still not an appropriate way to spend money. I don't know who was delegating the work to these subcontractors, but they were not clearing snow piles made by DPW. They were clearing sidewalks. In particular areas even, not even throughout the whole village. It was spot treatment, okay? And they left a mess in areas that were already clean and were clearing spaces that weren't even touched. So I don't know, somehow we forgot that residents are responsible to clear their sidewalks. A violation after a warning is up to $250 per day for such a fine, for a violation. And instead of enforcing our village code and generating income, we're paying out to subcontractors. And it's not a small amount of money either. Do you want to share the total of what we have in this billing?
Go ahead.
Within 4 contractors, $29,875 for 3 days worth of work. That's not efficient, in my opinion. And it's nothing personal, I'm not diminishing anyone's efforts. It's really just about responsibility. We're going to ask residents to follow the rules and trust us with their money. And our spending decisions need to reflect discipline, transparency, and common sense. And right now, I don't feel that they do, so I cannot vote yes tonight.
Anybody else? You guys, Trustee Carroll, you have anything?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna say a couple things. Number one, anytime that any board members ask for a copy of our operating accounts, they get it. We actually started including that in a monthly report that we give to them. Also, we started to do quarterly reporting, and as we've transitioned with a new deputy treasurer in dealing with an employee matter in the treasurer's position, which every board member is well aware of, and every board member gets any information that they ask for anytime they are in Village Hall. Every single member asks for different requests at any time. Bills are scrutinized multiple times by multiple trustees at all times. And as you can see, if a trustee or a member of the board does not like what they see in the bills, I completely understand that. It's good and healthy that we talk about it at a meeting, but at no time at any place was anything done improperly. Okay, so I think we need to just clear that up quickly. We got hit with 20 inches of snow. We do not have equipment in this village of approximately $400,000 that I keep down at DPW for storms of 20 inches. You know why? Because we don't have them every 15 years. I can't go to the taxpayers and ask them to spend almost $500,000 to have equipment just sitting down there for every 15 years we pull it out and then we use it on a storm like that. Multiple communities had to deal with other things and dealing with snow removal, and I would say our community looked better than most. In addition to the contractors that we've had here, which we've used in the past, some of them were the same contractors, thankfully that they came out and were able to help us. We also got 2 county trucks at no cost to the taxpayers to come down and assist with snow removal. Now, having a plow truck block a road, dealing with the traffic this year seemed almost impossible. And putting up cones didn't work, which is why we had to use a vehicle. I understand, and believe me, because especially when you're in the business or you're in the trade, you want to use a microscope, not a magnifying glass, you want to use a microscope. And I'm sure when you use a microscope, you can see little areas where we could do better next time. And I don't disagree with that. That is something that you always want to keep doing. But I don't think that saying that we don't get financial reporting, or we don't know what's in the accounts, or we don't know this, or we don't know that, well then that's your responsibility as an elected official. There's not a damn minute in the day where a trustee doesn't walk into Village Hall, ask for a document, and not get it. Information is brought to you, handed to you, sometimes spoon-fed to you, and that's just the facts. I'm sure it's the same way on the town. Can't speak for the town, I don't sit on that board anymore. So, I appreciate people not being 100% with 1 or 2 of the bills, 3 or 4 of the bills, that's fine. But please, let's not put an air of impropriety out to the public, because that's not happening. It was exactly why, one of the reasons why multiple municipalities had a state of emergency so you can act and move quickly. So, that's what I'm going to say about that. And as far as the late fees that are $2 or $3 or $4, we are doing better, and I understand that. We just restructured the office downstairs. We were down a person for the longest time. We have a new person down there, and things have gotten better in the last 45 days. I said that multiple times at village board meetings. In fact, trustees brought it up to me, and I thought it was very important, so we made a change. So, you know, please, if, at any time, if any trustee, I talk to all of you, and I know all of you are in Village Hall. So, and I know you all ask for information, and I know you get it. Nobody doesn't not give you the information you want, so please, let's just remember that. Roll call for the bills and claims, please.
Trustee Olivia?
No.
Trustee Ramus?
Yeah,
Trustee Carroll?
Yeah.
Trustee Gardullo?
Yes.
Mayor DeSalvo?
Yes. Thank you very much. Okay, we have 2 minutes from 2 different meetings. January 20th, 2026, you guys are up next, you're coming, you can get out. Accept the following minutes as written for the January 20th, 26th workshop meeting and February 5th, 2026 for the special meeting. I need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion
Motion,
to approve the minutes for both.
I think everybody was there, we don't have to break it out, right? Everybody's there,
Mhm.
yeah? Motion by trustee Ramus, is there a second?
Second.
Ooh, who do you want the tie to go to? Trustee Carroll, I'll give it to you, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, thank you so much. Big resolution in support of the feasibility study for the West Shore Passenger Rail Service. There's a lot here. Village of Highland Falls Board of Trustees, resolution in support of the feasibility study for the West Shore Passenger Rail Service. Whereas a restored and upgraded West Shore Rail Corridor would not only increase access to jobs and housing, but would also support critical hubs such as New York Stewart International Airport and the potential Newburgh Intermodal Transportation Center, including multimodal connections with ferry, bus, rideshare, and future housing development. And whereas such service could also provide future connections for tourism to the Catskills, I think we're the gateway, by the way. Sorry. Improved access to West Point for events and ceremonies and long-term opportunities for transit-oriented development in towns like Cornwall, but I think it's Village of Highland Falls. And whereas the feasibility study is critical first step to assess operational engineering, ridership, and economic viability. Now therefore be resolved that the Village Board of Trustees hereby formally requests the New York State, in coordination with the relevant regional planning agencies and transportation authorities, fund and initiate a feasibility study to evaluate the restoration of passenger rail service on the CSX River Subdivision West Shore Line. And be it further resolved that certified copies of this resolution be forwarded to the governor, the state senator, the assemblyman, the congressman, the New York State Department of Transportation, and other relevant agencies and officials to express our support and urge immediate action. A motion was made by
Motion.
trustee Ramus, seconded by trustee Gargiulo. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Olivia?
Yes.
Trustee Ramus?
Yeah.
Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee Gardullo?
Yes.
Mayor DeSalvo?
Yes. Bless you. DRI. So number 4 on the agenda is DRI, which is the New York Forward Update with Susan Lanford and John Zepko. Yeah, Fisher. Of the New York State Department of State, and Matt Teglish, Empire State Development. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor DeSalvo. Thank you, Board, for having us give you a quick update on where the New York Board process is. Joined by John Zepko from DOS and Matt Tegla from Empire State Development. So I know we have some new members on the board since the New York Board process, so I'm just going to give a quick background on what happened, what New York Board is, and then talk about next steps going forward. So New York Forward is a program started in 2022 with a focus on revitalizing smaller villages, hamlets, and neighborhood centers with a focus on downtown. Highland Falls applied in 2023 and was awarded as a round 2, selected by the Mid-Hudson Regional Economic Development Council. The program involves multiple state agencies, Department of State, Empire State Development, Homes and Community Renewal, New York State Research and Energy Research and Development Authority, better known as NYSERDA. The DOS is the program lead for this. $4.5 million is awarded to the community and is accompanied by a planning process that guides how that $4.5 million will be spent. So just kind of want to go through a couple of program goals. The program goals for New York Forward are to really create an active downtown, help build a diverse population, housing options, et cetera, enhance public spaces for arts and cultures, attract new businesses, grow the local property tax base, improve resilience of downtown and reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and ultimately provide amenities that support and enhance downtown living and quality of life. On the second page on your handout, this is a New York Forward timeline from the planning process that I pulled from when we did this planning process 2 years ago. And so, as you can see, it's about an 8-month planning process. It's pretty rapid, and it involves, a series of local planning committee meetings. It involves an open call for projects in which we solicited project ideas and concepts from businesses, local organizations, from the village as well. And that includes, the process in which this planning committee evaluated those projects and ultimately decided on a list of about 16 projects, I think, to recommend to the state for funding. So you can see just on this graphic, lots of different meetings. We engaged with the community, had a couple of different public workshops, had a couple of surveys out, went to a farmer's market one morning, one Saturday, I believe, to get input on some of these potential projects. So moving on, just as a reminder on the types of projects that are eligible through this process. New development or rehabilitation of existing buildings in the downtown, public improvement projects, so that means streetscapes, signage, park projects. We have what's called a small project fund, and this is kind of a re-grant program in which, the village is awarded up to $600,000, and then it can be re-granted to local businesses and property owners if that's a project that's awarded, which it was. And then branding and marketing, so helping to develop a brand for the downtown, a brand for Highland Falls, and really market Highland Falls as Hometown USA or whatever direction that you all want to move forward with. What we don't fund planning activities, so we don't fund things like traffic studies. We don't fund operations and maintenance, it's one-time expenses. And think pre-award costs, so anything from an award or contract date, we do not pay for costs looking backwards. And property acquisition is also something that New York Forward does not pay for. Requirements. What we look for is for a project to be shovel-ready 2 years from project award. So we want to see progress happening quickly with the awarded projects. We do look for projects that are catalytic and have some scale and can really improve the downtown, things that are really visible and meaningful to the community. We do allow for public, private, or not-for-profit entities to receive funds. And then look for other things like making sure that a project sponsor owns the building and has site control over that. So just want to do on the next 2 pages, what was the vision statement that came out of this process? So this vision statement was one that was included in the original application, but was refined throughout the process as we engaged the planning committee and the public. And it's really about making sure that Highland Falls celebrates the connection to West Point, it provides amenities for the residents, and it's something that really maintains its close-knit character. It was really the core of the vision. And that was supported by goals about attracting West Point visitors to come into the downtown. Cultivating a sustainable mixed-use corridor that had thriving small businesses and active storefronts, and then really making sure that downtown had active and inviting streetscapes, public spaces, and amenities that encourage people to come, stay, and explore. So those were kind of the vision and goals that really led and cultivated this project evaluation process led by a local planning committee. And so through this process, we received, I want to say, I believe, I'm just looking at my notes here, we received 20 total projects originally that were submitted by members of the community. And then through that process, through about 3 or 4 meetings, the local planning committee evaluated each of these projects. They said, how well does it align with these goals and this vision for community? What kind of benefits does it provide to the larger community? Does it help draw visitors to downtown? Does it grow the local tax base? Does it encourage visitors to come and stay? Is the project ready to go? Or is it something that's really an idea and then they're a few years from even being ready to start? Is it gonna be catalytic? Will it have a significant positive impact? And is it cost effective? Does it represent an efficient and effective use of public resources? And then the last thing was it supported by the public? So the local planning committee used those criteria and whittled that list of 20 projects down to 16. What ended up being submitted to the state was 16 projects, requesting a total of about $7.7 million. As you all know, we only have $4.5 million. So what the state does at that point is there's a multi-agency state review in which they evaluate the projects based on very similar criteria and select a total of $4.5 million worth. So with that, that means I believe about 10 projects were selected for funding. And so yes, on the last page is a project list. All of the ones in blue were awarded funding. And then we do have one in orange that was awarded funding, but that project sponsor has declined to move forward. So those funds have the potential to be reallocated to one of the underfunded or unfunded projects. And then the ones in white were ones that did not receive funding at that time. So that was kind of the New York Forward process. I'm going to pause there and answer any questions before I talk about what's next.
Sure, so, the one that's in orange,
Yes.
the $225,000. And how is that gonna be used, if at all?
Sure, so what the state does is, if there's a project that doesn't move forward or a project sponsor, chooses not to move forward, the state will go back and look at the project list of all of these projects and, assess, what is the most feasible, what are the ones that are able to move forward and figure out reallocation. I will note that is a state decision, that is not a local decision.
Okay. And then one other quick question, please. 2 years shovel ready.
Yeah.
What happens if they're not?
So, I think that this is it's a process. We understand that, sometimes there are barriers that projects encounter, whether they can't find contractors or the cost of materials is risen and they're having to rescope. There's a lot of things that we understand. I think the goal is to make sure that they are working towards that.
Yeah.
But if we are, for example, getting a project where we had no contact, nothing, that's a real conversation for us to have at the state of like, is the project that is demonstrating progress to moving forward?
And do we have anybody in that scope that isn't really showing any progress, that have just kind of dropped the ball, or?
I don't think we're at that stage yet, no.
The other question I have is, I'm actually interested in the small grant, the 600. When does that get to be reallocated? Because I know I have a few people needing things that are really chomping at the bit for that one.
Wonderful, glad to hear. So I believe that Homes and Community Renewal, they're the agency that handles that one, and that will be working directly with the village. There's a couple of preparation steps. So the village is gonna have to procure a consultant to really help with the administration of this. It's a lot of work. That is not something that we want the village to handle by themselves. So that's kind of step one. So step one, village executes the contract with the state. The village then procures a consultant, brings them on, and then they develop kind of a plan for how they're gonna run this process. So developing the criteria, the requirements, et cetera, establishing a committee that will guide the selection of the projects, and then create an application and put that out. My optimistic guess is hopefully that application is available in 6 months. Note that is optimistic, and as you all know, government sometimes moves slower than we would like it to.
So we have to wait on that?
We do have to wait on that, but there is $600,000, 10% of which can be allocated to administration. So there will be about $540,000 available for small projects, facade upgrades, interior renovations, things of that nature.
What about roofing, something like that? Is that something?
It could be that. One thing that I would note is it's not typically something that's used for deferred maintenance. So, that's gonna be something that that committee is gonna really have to evaluate, is what is the appropriate use of these funds that really, again, helps expand a business, grow a business, make a sustained business that adds something new and it's not just maintenance.
Thank you.
How was the planning committee picked?
So the planning committee was picked back in 2024, and this was, I'll note, a state committee, but it was picked based on some recommendations that came from the mayor at that time in the village. And then was ultimately approved by the state.
So, we're taking questions?
Sure.
Okay, so there used to be a website and were opportunities for the public to participate. Is that still happening, and is there a website? And how can we see which 10 projects have been awarded?
So you're correct, at that time, during the planning process, there was a separate New York Forward website. When the planning process ended, that website came down, but I believe all of the materials from that, from the committee, et cetera, were provided to the village. I know that they're working on their new website, so it may be a little while before those get uploaded for your reference. In terms of which projects were awarded, that is gonna be on the state website. I'm afraid I can't give you the link right off the top of my head, but if you Google DOS New York Forward, you will be able to find a link to the Round 2 communities, and it will include a press release which lists all of the projects awarded.
I think we could put a link on the
Yeah,
website.
absolutely.
So what is the process for public engagement now?
Great, so you're getting me to my next steps. So I wanna know.
Just before you move on,
Yeah.
everybody okay?
Well, actually, to piggyback, so the previous mayor put the list together. How many people were on that list, if you know that? And
Yeah, it was about a group of 10, and so it also included, it did not necessarily include just village residents. I know we had somebody from Orange County Arts, we had somebody from Maureen Hallahan from Orange County Partnership. So it's also some, representatives and from the region as well. So they're really trying to bring a diverse perspective to the downtown.
and it was whittled down to how many?
I want to say it was probably at 10, and I think, we had some natural attrition. I think by the end it was probably around 8.
Okay, thank you.
I'll add, one of those members of the LPC is a representative of the Regional Economic Development Council.
Right.
Somebody who sits on the committee, that's always with the New York Forward or DRI project.
There's a couple fixed members
Yes.
that don't, yeah.
Rotates which member of the REDC, but there is a member.
If there is if someone does drop off, or I know like Maureen is not CEO of the partnership anymore, but she's more than welcome, she's got a wealth of knowledge in all that encompasses. But if someone is off, or maybe they moved out of town, I'm trying to remember the names, I know I have a list on my desk, but, is there a way to add somebody to it if we need to?
Well, so the local planning committee's job is done, essentially.
Okay.
So their job finished when they recommended this list of 16 projects to the state.
Okay.
How you all choose to engage them, up to you. They have a lot of deep knowledge, so that's entirely up to you.
Okay.
Their job with this is finished.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, next steps. Oh, another question?
When they voted on, they did vote, right, on all the buildings that were submitted. So the people that were always at all the meetings, it was the same guy, you were at the meetings?
Yes.
So the people that were appointed by the mayor still outweighed the people that were there at every meeting?
So, I mean,
Just an observation.
Yeah, I guess
Not
what's-
necessarily a question.
yeah, I guess what I will just note is, voting does not occur project by project. Voting occurs as a slate of projects. So the local planning committee discussed all of the projects, and they ultimately decided this is the group of projects that we think best will help achieve the goals of this program. So they don't go project by project. It is a group of projects. I don't know if that answers any of your question, but just wanted to provide that insight.
And on that, they don't rank the projects, it is a group, each project is equally valued, funded, and on the list here, this is not a ranking, this is just,
This is the order in which they're in the plan.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, New York State, the Forward organization group, vetted every member. There was 1 or 2 members, I think, that were put on, and then they weren't, either not eligible, couldn't do it, didn't have the schedule.
Yep.
So I mean, like, it wasn't just, we gave, I think the mayor at the time gave the names, but there was still some back and forth, and you
Absolutely.
actually spoke to them individually, so I mean,
Absolutely. And I would say one of our goals was, one of the goals of the LPC is to make sure that you're having diversity of representatives.
right.
So it is not just, business owners from downtown, it is somebody who brings multiple perspectives, because we know that the key ingredients to downtown are not just one thing. It is having these multiple perspectives. So, yeah, it was definitely something they went through a process, in addition to the recommendation by the mayor.
Go ahead. Question. Ron, can we let her go to the next slide, and we'll circle to you, okay? Just give it a minute.
So for next steps, so we're kind of at the beginning of the contracting phase with all of the projects. So there are 3 state agencies involved: Department of State, Homes and Community Renewal, and Empire State Development. The Department of State contracts, that's gonna be me and John. Those are the public contracts, so one of those is Lady Cliff Park, which includes, revitalizing that, and then the branding and wayfinding. So working on a brand and then installing wayfinding signage on downtown. So John and I are handling those, mainly John. The HCR contract, you might have heard, is gonna be handled by HCR. There's a project manager, Adrian Halverson, he'll be the direct person for handling that small project fund contract. And then Empire State Development, Matt handles all of the private for-profit contracts. So, but we're in the early stages of those. I can speak for DOS, we just sent those contracts, I think, 2 to 3 weeks ago to the village for you to review. But for your awareness of kind of what those contracts include, the next thing for you all to do is review and sign it and send it back to us. I will note, it could take up to about 4 months from once we send it back to DOS for it to be executed by the state. It's gotta go through process, it has to go to the comptroller, there are levels. This contract, what we call a work plan, is simply like the scope of work. And it includes some tasks. It includes selecting a designer engineering consultant for both projects. We do these separately. It includes draft and final design, and that's where a lot of the stakeholder engagement comes. Is when we submit these projects or when projects are submitted, they're at a high level planning concept. No surveys have been done, there's been no real feasibility, we've done a high level planning. And so once you hire a professional firm, that's gonna get a lot deeper into like what's actually possible at this site, what makes sense. And that is the time to really engage the public and engage stakeholders in making sure that this is a project that is representative of the full village. So that's where the next public engagement kind of comes in, is really diving into some of the details and visions for these projects.
I just want to take Mr. Malikoff's question. Mr. Malikoff, what was your question?
Well, when was the awards given out, is my question, and are any of the projects, have they put a shovel in to start?
Sure. So the awards, you're gonna test my memory, I wanna say they were announced last May, so May of '25. It is a process, it takes about 6 months from for the state to evaluate and make those announcements. Shovels have not been in the ground, partly because there are no contracts signed, so we try to be really careful about being like, anything you do now, you're at risk because you don't have an executed contract. So there are no shovels in the ground.
It's an arduous process. Nobody is sitting down on the job. I mean, it's just the process is long.
Yep.
Cornwall went through it, and they're 3 years into it, and they had a nice picture 5 months ago. Mary Jane can maybe attest to that, was in the Cornwall Local, wait a minute, 4 or 5 months ago, but there's still 4 or 5 months ago that the shovel's not in the ground yet. So it's very frustrating for me, and I know it's frustrating to some of the community members, but no one's sleeping on the job. We contact, whether it's email or phone calls, weekly, bi-weekly, and we're constantly on it. So, be patient, which I know is tough, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, so just, as we kind of continue through like what the process is for particularly Lady Cliff and branding and marketing, is then, you'll, after you have design and construction documents, you'll get a construction contractor out here and start to put that project out to bid, something I know you all are very familiar with the last several years. Do that construction and then you close it out. So, I mean, yeah, we're still talking about probably, 6 months until you really get the designer in here.
Yeah.
Because we still have time to execute the contract, and then you gotta procure, and you gotta do an RFP, like, it's a process. But like, you will hopefully start to see a little bit more movement on the design, and things before the end of the year. And then, I think, there are things that y'all can be doing now, thinking about developing that request for proposal so that it's ready to go as soon as you have a contract executed. And the thing that I always say is, please pay attention to the work plan, just making sure you're checking all of the boxes, and doing the things. Just compliance, as you all know in government, is really essential. We wanna make sure that you all are setting yourselves up for success. And I think that's all I have. The other thing that I handed you all was just a map. And so that is a map of the designated New York Forward area. And so that is gonna be the area in which the small project fund applicants can apply. So anything outside that area, they're not eligible to apply, but in that area, they are. And then,
Did you just hand him everything?
yeah, do you want me to not?
You know, you just hand your hands out and they just hand
You know,
it to
you're replaceable.
you. You're damn right I am. Gotta wait a couple of years though, sorry. I know, you got,
I mean, I can still grab it.
no, I'm kidding, I have to joke with them every day.
Any other questions I can answer for you all?
Thank you very much for
Couple
coming. Oh,
questions. Just the administration for, that we're, gonna send out for, do you have any recommendations for companies for us to look at that?
Sure, so Homestead Community Renewal, they definitely have a list of consultants that they will be sending you that have experience with doing this exact type of work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that you have in here, specifications for the EEO, the Equal Employment Opportunities, so like the minority-owned and women-owned businesses. Are you firm at those percentages? Just because I know that sometimes that can create a complication and slow down the process.
Yes, so the rules for minority and women-owned business enterprises, the goal is typically 30% in total, usually it's 15% in MBE, 15% WBE. Those can be a little bit shifty for Department of State contracts. I will not speak for ESD or HCR. We all have slightly different rules. But the goals usually stay the same, but the expectation is good faith efforts to meeting those goals. So as long as, the Village Group, we are, emailing firms that we find on the MWB directory that is run by the state, and sharing this opportunity with them, posting it so that they can see it. That is, usually evidence of good faith efforts that we tried to procure one of these firms, but we were not able to. So in the event that the village is not able to show that goal, having that documentation is really important to be able to get a waiver.
on that, I know that the state and Fed have made some changes or in the process of changing WBE and DBE requirements and, authorizations and certifications. So is that gonna play a role in any of that? As that process starts to unfold, which no one seems to know really what you're supposed to do if you're a WBE or...
My understanding is I don't know of anything happening at the state level. I've heard similar things at the federal level with their funding, but I have no knowledge of anything at the state level.
Okay, thank you. You guys okay?
Yes.
I don't, you else one. All right. Everybody okay? Thank you very much.
Oh, no, thank you all for
You
having us.
guys up next, or you guys were just for support?
Here for moral support.
Moral support, I love it.
Any
Okay.
questions?
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming in. You okay? Okay. All right. Okay, next on the agenda is to approve a contract award to Arrow Construction Company, Inc. for the Cragston Water Main Replacement Project per recommendation of Village Engineer Todd Atkins. This is part 2 of a water project that was actually 2 administrations ago that was worked on. The company's been holding the price for us for about 2 years. And I'm sure Mr. Wells would agree that costs have gone up in 2 years, so especially on materials and stuff like that. So I was pleased that they held the numbers for us as we continue to do different water projects in the community. So we had authorized the bonds a while back, so we want to just get this moving as, I know it was a nice day today, so as things start to fill up, we'll want to start to get to work. So the company's, the notice to proceed is to Arnold Construction Company, Inc., who's the contractor. They're out of Kingston. Project is the Village Highland Falls. We're calling it the Cragston Water Main Replacement. Total amount of contract is $1,973,275, even. I thought that was kind of interesting. So you are notified that contract times under the above contract will commence to run February 18th, 2026. By that date, you are to start performing your obligations under the contract documents in accordance with Article 4 of the agreement. Of the work will be substantially completed within 270 consecutive calendar days and ready for final payment. I'm going to trust you on this, Trustee Olivia, to keep an eye on them. I know you like to do that. Final payment within 90 days from the date of substantial completion. The dates of substantial completion and readiness for final payment and therefore on November 14th, 2026 and on February 12th, 2027. Respectively. The contract provides for an assessment of the sum of $1,000 as liquidated damages for each consecutive calendar day after the above established substantial completion date that the work remains incomplete. So I think we'll do a roll call for this, and we can have a motion in a second, and then we'll do, if we have any discussion, and then we can have roll call. So I just need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Trustee Ramus, is there a second? Seconded by Trustee Carroll, any discussion?
It says in here that we have the contract documents, that's something that we have? that I
Yep.
can actually-
Yes, absolutely.
I haven't seen
And
it.
I would, I think we have one printed downstairs, but if you, I'd like to keep that there, but if you need a title, send it to you electronically, if it's easier for you to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
either way is fine, I just
Yeah.
would like to review it.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question? Roll call.
Well,
Oh, whoa.
it's not a question, it's just confirming. This is phase 2 of the
Right.
water project that we started.
Correct.
My goodness, has to be 6 years ago at least.
No, you talking about on Deer Park?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was, no, it was right around the flood, so we finished just, we were about, I'd say 90% complete around the flood, so a couple years. 3 years, 4 years? You know, it's a new year now in February. but-
4, so,
Yeah, not 4 calendar years, but 4 years.
all right.
All right? A roll call.
Trustee Olivia?
Yes.
Trustee Ramus?
Yeah,
Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee Gardullo?
Yes.
Mayor DeSalvo?
Yes. And just for the folks in Ondera Park, Olden, we're gonna be paving Ondera Park this year. So we'll get that all done. I have a meeting with Central Hudson tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So they have a couple, like 15 hookups they wanna do. So once they do them, and we get into the paving weather, then that'll be scheduled to do that in Ondera Park. So we get that project totally complete. Okay, thank you. You got that, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next on the agenda is to approve the Town of Highlands St. Patrick's Day Parade, sponsored by the Town of Highlands St. Patrick Committee, on March 7th, 2026, starting at 3 p.m. on Main Street, followed by a block party, which you have an additional email, in front of Bean and Barrel until, I think they want to go from 4 to 6, but that's okay. We had some agenda changes, but
Sorry.
basically, we've got asked by the committee and a couple businesses on Main Street, Westie's, Bean and Barrel, I guess Westie's and Bean and Barrel, that they wanted to have a little block party there from 4 to 6.
Just a 2-hour, yeah.
I know we don't have insurance for this, but I know they usually submit. So the only thing I'll say is that maybe the committee wants to talk to those folks and see if they're gonna need it. You know, we need to make sure the insurance part is covered. And I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm okay with it. I would've said maybe they should've got all the businesses between them two hooked up. I don't know if there's, what is there, one more maybe?
Oh, they didn't want to
Two.
block off the laundry mat. They didn't-
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I think, you know, look, it's a good thing and everyone's responsible and they have a good time, that's fine. So just make sure we have the insurance, but I think we could make a motion pending insurance that the clerk has given, so we approve it. Anybody wanna make a motion to that?
I'll make the motion pending insurance.
Trustee Ramos made the motion. Is there a seconded by,
Second?
you don't wanna give it to the Irish guy?
Say that.
No, I'm kidding. Seconded by trustee Olivia. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I tried to get it to you for you. We're all Irish on St. Patty's Day, right? Okay, next is we have an approval recommendation from Police Chief Twerpy to release Ryan Walker from employment as part-time dispatcher. I believe Ryan is full-time now EMS, Chief?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah, Ryan, I will say Ryan was with us before, then he was away a little bit, then he came back.
Yeah, he's, just doesn't have the availability to, stay on and, provide coverage for us.
And I will say, Ryan, I say kid, I mean, I'm only 46, not only was he a good employee, he was very knowledgeable on the desk, very enthusiastic to be here, good person, and I thank him for his time here at the Village of Highland Falls. So we'll take the recommendation that he's be released with regret. I'll make that motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Gargiulo. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next on the agenda is to approve recommendation of Police Chief Twerpy to remove probationary status of a part-time police officer, Nick Giacumis. I was practicing that. Who has completed 52 weeks of satisfactory employment probation. Need a motion and a second on that?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Gardullo, is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Carroll, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approved recommendation, boy, we got a lot tonight, chief, huh? Approved recommendation of Police Chief Turpie to remove probationary status of full-time officer Joseph Gemilero, who has completed 78 weeks of satisfactory employment probation. Motion?
Motion.
Trustee Carroll, second.
Second.
Trustee Olivia, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Doesn't need that. Okay. Next on your agenda is number 10, which might be towards the back. We have some New York Ford stuff here. Is a schedule of fees that we talked about at one of our meetings. We have the proposed changes. I'd like to get this passed tonight. This is really if you, some of the descriptions are games of chance, blasting permit, jukebox permit, junkyard license, sewage disposal, sewer hookup, towing license, water meter service. This is not like fees of normal resident stuff. This is, if you're adding on new lines, you need a new water restoring service, or you want to shut the water off in your house and then turn it back on, you're under construction, whatever. The fees that we hadn't been touched. I think we saw one downstairs from 1988. So I was 8 years old then, so I think it's time. And then we also have some parked within 20 feet of an intersection, parked on a sidewalk, parked in the wrong direction, parked outside line space, parked in no parking zone, limited time parking, obstruction of snow removal, parked blocking driveway, operation of meters, parked within 15 feet of a fire hydrant, parked in a handicap without permit, dumpster in village, which is a new one, we never had that. So I want to thank trustee Olivia, because she worked on a lot of this, Chief Torpy worked on this, trustee Gardullo worked on this. And as trustee Olivia said to me very kindly, if we find something we want to change, we can change it, right?
I think you said that to me, but.
I could have sworn it was the other way, but maybe you're right. So I need a motion and a second to approve the proposed changes for the fines and fees for the Village of Island Falls.
I'll make a motion that we accept them.
Motion by trustee Carroll, is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Gardullo, roll call please, unless there's any questions. Yes, sure.
I'd really like to see the dumpster at 7 days, not 14 days.
Okay. 7 days. Done. You approve that as amended? Thank you.
The question would be, so if they're gonna need it after 7 days, do they have to,
The permit would only be good for 7 days, so if they need
they
it.
have to come in for another permit, correct?
Yeah, or they can come in and say they need it for 3 weeks and pay the fee for 3 weeks.
Okay.
All right? Okay?
Yep.
Roll call, please, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Olivia?
Yes.
Trustee Ramus?
Aye.
Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee Gardullo?
Yes.
Mayor DeSalvo?
Yes. That was great. Getting stuff done. See, now the town can change your schedule.
When can we make changes to this?
Not yet, we just passed it.
Anytime.
And
That's
anytime.
Doing that.
And we just did it on the fly.
Just asking a question, sir.
Okay, public comment? Yes, Amy Scott from Fort Montgomery, come on down.
Hello, just a comment on the snow removal. It does sound, like a large amount of money, 29,000. But when you look at 4 contractors for 3 days and the number of men that they had, it breaks down to like about $2,400 a day, and then do your equipment and your operating rentals, you got off cheap.
When we have rental trucks going for $125 an hour at a large mason dump, this is what was being used by these contractors. When we could get a tri-axle dump truck for $135 an hour, there are better ways to spend money.
No, of course, I'm just saying, in the big scheme of things, that was not an exorbitant amount.
Any other public comment? Okay, trustee Olivia, liaison report.
Before I begin my liaison report, I'd like to just make a quick comment on something that I feel like we're seeing a lot of. I'd like to really implore the collective to exercise more understanding that there is a clear difference between constructive feedback or procedural correction and personal criticism. We cannot ever improve services or quality of life if every concern is treated as a personal attack. And at the same time, no one should ever be subject to personal insults and harassment while doing their jobs. Both of these issues exist here in our community, and neither one is acceptable. Many of the problems that we have now are not new, and they're not complicated. We hear a lot about speeding, trash cans left out, unmaintained properties. These are resident-created issues, and enforcement is the only tool that we have to correct them. Education helps, warnings help, but without consistent enforcement, the rules become optional. And when rules become optional, the people who follow them are the ones who lose. And that's not a culture that we need to propagate. So I hope we can put some thought to that. And I don't have too much more for you tonight. In recreation news, grades 5 through 10, there is still time to sign up for March Mania. That's basketball and cheerleading. The player slots are filling up fast though, so get in touch if you are interested in that. You have until March 2nd. For girls age 9 to 12, you can sign up for ponytail softball. That is free registration for the first time ever, so thank you to Recreation Director Aaron Falk, however you made that happen. And both of those programs you can register at highlands-ny.gov. For building department report for January, we had 14 permit applications, 12 permits were issued, 1 operating permit, 7 certificates of compliance, no certificates of occupancy, 35 building permit inspections, 4 fire safety inspections, 11 violation notices were issued, no violations closed out, 4 municipal searches were completed, 2 zoning variance applications, 2 planning board applications, and 4 FOIL requests were sent in for the month of January. The Town of Highlands United Youth is having a meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, February 18th, 3 p.m. at the Highland Falls Library, and that's open to all youth in grades 6 through 12, so check that out if you're interested there. I had one other item. The Town of Highlands Chamber of Commerce will be meeting the 25th of this month at the center of Highland Falls, and that's 6 p.m. And that's it for me. Oh, and our website is live, our brand new website is live, so if you haven't had a chance yet, go check that out. We're real excited about that, and that's it for me today.
Trustee Ramus, I knew you were chomping at the bit.
I thought maybe you do that.
No, make sure you speak up though so I can hear you.
Use my outside voice.
Like trustee Olivia, she gets a nice projection.
All right, so, for the month of January, the sewer treatment plant. Our daily flow was 713,000 gallons a day. That's up. Trustee Carroll's gonna let us know how much we actually pushed through the water plant, and I think there's a substantial difference. So we're getting a lot of I&I still, and we're gonna get more when the snow melts, along with a couple of rain days, because it is spring. But I just would ask everybody to please, if you have a sump pump, and put it into the sewage system, put it outside, let it run down into the storm drains, please. I was down there again today. They are continuing their maintenance on the equipment. They were doing some painting inside as well, brightening up the rooms. All the pump station checks have been done as required. Process samples have been sent to the DEC lab. They had removal of the dumpster that used to have all the belt press sludge in it. That was good. They took one pump to the repair shop. That is going to be a problem. I was down there today and on the left train, I would call it the western train. I could hear it inside the car, so it was loud. So it's something that they're taking a look at, and it's something that we'll have to talk about, especially come budget time.
You mean train on the track, train at the sewer?
The RBC trains.
Okay.
So there's a train on each side. But the train on the track, I didn't make it all the way in. And so we did have a problem with the pump station at Webb Lane. The guys got in there, fixed it to the best of their ability. The generator kicked on, that was a big plus. They had it back up and running. Not too much longer, it went down again. So what happened is the electric line that is underground has problems in it. So we're gonna have to, and they should be getting done, or starting this week. They tried to get an overhead line in there, but they couldn't get permission on the easement. So we're gonna have to dig through the paved area, and it's gonna cost us a little more than anticipated. But the generator is working fine, and the pump station is working fine, but we're gonna see that in the bills.
Fully covered by insurance.
Yeah. So this week, we have the planning board has their meeting, and also the zoning board has their meeting. So the planning board meeting, which is...
No, just tell me.
So at the planning board meeting, they got a couple of things going on. There's some new business. They're looking at a proposed 20-lot subdivision on Villa Parkway. And then they have some extension requests for projects that have been banging around down there for a long time. One of them is 479 Main Street. It is the old Penn Fed building. I call it the Mogadishu lot because it's all gravel. And the other one is over here at the church. Both of these were grandfathered into the B3 zoning district. That sunsets very quickly. So with that being said, he needs to start moving on it or he's gonna lose whatever approvals he has. And I think that's why he's here now. And then he has another informal for another 97 unit residential mixed use building. That's on the former ALO property, which is right next to Walgreens. So if anybody wants to know what's proposed that they're putting against the wall to see if it's gonna stick, I suggest that you go to a planning board meeting. They're not as lively as this meeting, but they're very informative. I'm not sure. This is true, but they're very informative. Last but not least, actually I have two things. So on the 21st, there's a self-defense class at the American Legion in Pine Bush. Anybody, first responders or veterans who would like to sign up for that, we have this flyer. It's on the kiosk thumbtack board right outside of Village Hall. And if it's not posted on our new website, I will make sure it is. These are great things that are going on. They have a lot of things going, different things going on. It's not always the same thing. Last month they had candle and soap making. Next month they're going to have bonsai trees, bird feeders, basic welding, so a lot of stuff goes on there. And I am in contact with the organizers, Dwayne and Jackie, to see if we can actually have them do one down here at our Legion Hall as well. I think it would be a big plus. And just to circle back, potholes. Anybody? Potholes, right, Mr. Mayor? Wherever they're located, 1-800-POTHOLE. You call it up 24/7. You call that number, New York State, if it's on a state road, they're gonna get somebody out there. The more we call, the quicker they get somebody out there. 1-800-POTHOLE.
Newburgh residency also.
You could just call Village Hall directly, they'll come with them. Any of the other stakeholders. Or DPW. Trustee, I'm gonna go Gargiulo now.
Say, oh good.
I know you're chomping at the bit.
I am shopping. DPW, I'm gonna piggyback off.
I see my house there.
I'm going to piggyback off trustee Olivia a little bit on this. DPW, they spent 14 days plowing, and I can honestly say I have never been more disappointed in our community than I have been with this snowstorm. We've had guys belittled, berated. One of our fellows was told he was a disgrace to his family. It snowed. They worked hard. You know, it is what it is. With the, you know, with praise there comes hindsight, but we did have foresight. In the spring, we were sending our new guys out for operational training, for simulating plowing and things of that nature. And we're still going to do that. I think our clerk had found a place for them to do that. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but I think we have to be a little more respectful of these guys, just like first responders and everyone else. They're out there when we don't have to be, and we're very happy behind our very warm keyboards. Complaining about everything. I think we did set a bad precedent with doing sidewalks. Mr. Malacott himself said to me when they were doing one side of his street, he said, why did you do my side? And I said, because some knucklehead is going to push it over to that side that's clear, or they're going to complain about it. So it was what it was. The cost does look like, and I have to say, the cost does look like it's a lot for the independent contractors that came. And I think that does come from an avenue of communication. I think the way that trustee Olivia was presenting it was really in that vein. We had this conversation when we had the baseball field, and there was a change order in the baseball field, and then we were asked to approve that after the fact. I can't not approve the work that's already been done. That's my problem. I think if there was something that, you know, an email or something that said, hey, this is what, even contractually, do the landscapers actually put in a bid prior? Do you know what that cost is going to be, or are we just getting charged for, you know, those are the conversations that we don't really have, and I think that's where the little bit of miscommunication comes, and we kind of tighten that up. I think we need to have a better scope so we can decline it before it even happens. So I do have to agree with her to that point. And that's what I have with the DPW. I mean, as I say, please try to be kind to them. I worked with Ty King on the warming stations when the electric went out. The electric went out because there was a substation in Harriman substation. There was a problem over there. Thank goodness they were able to clear it up, not as quickly as we thought. But so Ty King and I talked about, we got the Fort Montgomery Fire Department because their generator was working. There was complaints that generators weren't working. Well, the problem was it's been so cold that things were failing. They had to go back and then work some DPW guys again. Went back and got everything started. The senior center was an issue because there's no generator there and there was no power. And the problem with the senior center was not that it was closed for a long period of time. There was an external water line that froze that had to be cleared up. It happened over the weekend, and by Monday it was fixed. We are finding, because with the significant cold that we've had, that the oil tank there is way too small. We talked about maybe putting gas, but no, we're actually going to price out a new gas tank, a larger gas tank for that, so we don't have the problem in the future. And hopefully we don't have cold winters like this. But we need it because it would make it hard to be a warming station, even without even with electricity. So that was on the senior center. I got a lot of calls from people with landlord issues, that they didn't have heat, they didn't have hot water, they didn't have this or that. And that is a landlord issue. And I tracked down a lot of these landlords to really say, you know, you got to step up to the plate to get this done. But that speaks to our landlord registry, getting people on the landlord registry. Because a lot of LLCs, it was hard to track down. If we can get people and really be hyper-vigilant on that, I think we'd have a lot better time when these emergencies come up. Trustee Olivia and I had a conversation down at Wyatt Green for emergency management with them, to get people on the, it's the good morning call from the dispatchers. I know exactly, the chief's here, I don't know exactly what it's called. But the dispatchers call, they make sure you're okay, and if they don't get a call, you want to speak to that, what that actually is?
Yeah, the program is called Project Good Morning, and how that works, it's for seniors that may live alone, vulnerable people, and it's a check and balance system, so each morning when they get up, they call the police station, hi, how you doing, this is so-and-so, I'm okay. But what happens if 11 o'clock comes around and we don't hear from them? We'll send a patrol unit over to the house to check on them, make sure they're okay. So it's voluntary, it's free, it's a great program, and I would recommend letting anybody who could use it know.
Yeah, we're trying to get all of Wyatt Green down there to do the most vulnerable, because there's a lot of seniors down there. It's not an invasion of privacy, again, it's voluntary to do, but it's really a good extra step to have. That and Community Connections had their very first adult neurodivergent social. It was at the Bean and Barrel, and it was excellent. A lot of older adults came out who need transitional services, who need friendships, who need things like that. And we always have our Saturday mornings, Community Connections for the younger kids, the open gym. That's really it. Just thank you to all of our village, town employees, and our first responders for all you do. We do 365, 24/7.
Trustee Carroll.
Let's see, all right, the VRI report, like Mr. Remus said, we actually used, processed 138,000 gallons a day that were not accounted for. That's due to some pumps, some people having their houses and stuff. That's a lot of gallons, seeing that we did transfer 570,000 gallons a day through the system. But you know, Jimmy said $713,000 gallons were at the sewer system, so that's a lot of difference. I don't know how we gotta get that word out to the people that there'll be fines. There's another thing we gotta put down. And get some kind of shake them up a little. Okay, well, on their report, they have, on the 27th, all daily operations were normal. The next day, it was, they increased the filter flow. The following day, they increased the filter flow, collected monthly water samples, storage tank levels, indicator is frozen. The following day, we had the power outage at 5:30. The plant was on a generator until 11:30. No operational issues were noted. The storage tank levels indicator is not working. They did 6 U-dig markouts, did 2 final water meter readings. VRI staff started preparing fluoride room for painting. I wanted to make a note of, they've done a lot of work up there. When we decided we needed to improve the room where the fluoride was being kept, because it was affecting the entire building. It was affecting the glass, the paint, everything, and we don't know what it was doing to the employees. We went out to bid. We projected that it'd be like maybe $150,000 to remedy the situation. I got a bid for $60,000, and we're very happy with that. Well, Dale Post, the director up there at the water plant, was nice enough to take it on himself. Didn't cost us anything. He repaired the doors. He put in an exhaust fan. We will have to pay for that. Didn't come up yet. He made the room a little larger. He did some work on the floor. Right now, he says that this week coming up, they're going to paint it. And it'll pass for that's a big savings, you know. BRI, their staff and management are always doing things like that for us. And it shows that, you know, they're very well worth it. You know, they have one guy they pulled from the sewer plant, who was a carpenter, he built the doors. You know, they'll bring up probably him again to paint. They covered a lot of bases. Let's see, okay, the town of Holland's water usage was 90,000 gallons a day. That's the town, but we resell to the town. That's about average. The outstanding issues, they're inspecting homes for lead service lines as called or received. So anybody suspecting they still have lead in their lines, you know, or, you know, line problems because of discoloration or something, you call the water department, they'll show up and they'll give your answers there. Upper Bog Meadow, the water level's at 68%, which isn't bad. Of course, it's covered with snow. They opened the Upper Bog valve 1/24th, which is just slightly to refill Lower Bog. Lower Bog is coming over the spillway. Jim's Pond, which is our first reservoir up higher, the water is at the spillway and the valve is open. The lowest reservoir we have is a 9W reservoir. Water isn't flowing over the dam right now. In the weeks ahead, we got a backwash pump has been ordered, delivered this month. 2 proposals received to replace the media in sand filter, number 1. Waiting for the health department to approve the filter material. That's a big thing, that's what we've been talking about for a year. They shut down, there's 3 of them, 3 major filters, they shut down 1 to investigate and take out all the sand and that. It's kind of like, you know, 3 different swimming pools. And there's a lot to do there. And they're in the process of doing number 1 right now. Continue water meter installations and continue inspecting homes for the lead service lines. All right, and I asked them to give us a summary of the sheets, what they've been saving us in the past year, and Dale said that they have it ready for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The police department report for January 2026 was total calls were 804. Arrest summary was 2 felony, 1 misdemeanor, 101 tickets, meter tickets issued, 101. Traffic tickets issued was 19, for a total of 120 tickets. Meter collections was 2,280, village ticket fees were 1,945, total mileages was just under 3,900. A couple things to go over. As Trustee Olivia mentioned, the new website is up and running. I believe it was up and running February 7th.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I highly recommend you go check it out. If you don't have a computer, that's fine, because you can use your smartphone now. Very good website. Thanks for Village Hall for all the work you folks did, and the company also we hired. I know they got paid to do it, but it's really a great website, and I highly recommend you go on there and check it. I mean, it's very, very easy to use now. It's definitely 21st century stuff, so I'm very happy about that. As I mentioned in a little overview last couple weeks ago, the village did receive a grant for $400,000 for a vac truck. So we're looking at pricing those out now. We'll probably need to come up with a little bit of it, but everything we're seeing, it's like maybe 20 or 30 grand more than the grant, which is fine. We have some money in our savings accounts for that type of stuff for DPW. I think it'll probably cut down on our expenses to Tam and Cook, who we use regularly for water breaks, sewer breaks, clean outs, all that stuff. So I think it's really good. I think it's really good for us. We've never had one. I think I was told I was crazy for putting in for the grant, working with our grant writers, but luckily we got it. So I was very happy to see that. And that'll be obviously a board decision when we get there to see and spec it out. We also got a grant from Homeland Security for cybersecurity. So we worked with our IT fella and he worked on that grant. We did really well with that. There's not necessarily a dollar amount, it's just how much stuff we need to do to make sure we're secure. So that could be hardware, software, whatever we need to do that we put in for. The new truck that the board approved for purchase was delivered last week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. So that's up and running. That came in very nicely. Little FEMA update. We've been meeting like weekly now. Sometimes Trustee Olivia's there, sometimes Trustee Ramus is there if I'm not there. We kind of like share a little bit. Any trustee's welcome at any time, as long as we don't have three, it kind of gets open meetings there. But things are going very well. Our engineer is funneling information, updated information. We've received about $1 million in the last 2 weeks for projects we already did, so they've been obligated. So that come springtime, we can continue working on other projects. So that's good stuff. I thank the board members who help out with that. As the previous board knows, this board knows, the previous board got a grant for $50K for the senior center generators. We're working on that. And also we got a grant for $50K for new appliances at the senior center. So I know Jen's working on that. Also, in addition to that, we're very close to dealing with the county for the lunch program there. That should probably start, I'm hoping, April. I'm hoping it's contractual stuff with the county loves contracts.
They're not waiting for the renovation on that?
I don't think so. I think we could probably start it, yeah. Because they were okay with, I wasn't okay with it. The clerk wasn't okay with it. You weren't okay with it. And I know Jeanette Scott, who works a lot in the senior center, she wasn't okay with it. So we put in for the grant. We got the money to update everything, but we couldn't use it the way it is. But it just needs an update. So that's getting worked on too. We do have a ZBA appointment to work on. I know we put it in the paper looking for any applicants. We did get one. And I recommend to the board that you reach out to that person. The clerk can provide an email address if you want to meet with them, talk with them. They're down 2 members, so quorum might be an issue, so we're going to have to move on it at some point. We have an appointment and the town has an appointment now because we had someone resign, I think it was Friday, Thursday. So we each have an appointment to make on that. And I think there's 5 members on that board, so if they have 3, you might have an issue with quorum. They might have a quorum, but they might not be able to vote. So that we need to work on. Like I mentioned to Ms. Anderson, I have a meeting with Central Hudson tomorrow in regards to their gas lines that they're going to do at Ontario Park. I also spoke with the EV charger. Olga, you like this? EV chargers at the charging station we have in the municipal parking lot too. We're looking to put 2 more in so we can keep charging cars. Thank God for that. The clerk and I think Trustee Ramus was there. We met with the trail folks behind Seatown. That looks fantastic. It's under 20, maybe not 20 inches of snow, maybe like 15, 12 now. But that trail is, I was amazed myself. So I think that's going to be nice. I think we're looking towards April, May, June for the ribbon cutting down there, and that is going very well. This last week there was a, at our schools we have what's called the school resource officers. They're actually through the Orange County Sheriff's Department, through Paul Arteta, our sheriff, and there was a special day to remember those folks that are down there. They do a great job, and we thank them. I had the opportunity to go down and read a book at the Fort Montgomery Elementary School. Thank God it was a book that I normally read to my son, Cat in the Hat. It can be very difficult, even for a college graduate, but I got through it very easily, thankfully, and the kids were very, very, very cool and awesome. One didn't even want me to go, so I thought that was pretty good. Just a reminder, 9W, more work will be done this coming spring on the mountain. There's some touching up, there's a different couple phases they have to work on, obviously weather permitting. So you might start seeing traffic patterns again as the warmer weather starts. Couple quick things. So I agree with the board in regards to personal attacks, and I don't think anybody's personally attacking anybody. I mean, those days are over. And for folks who weren't on the board, I know myself, Trustee Carroll, Trustee Ramus, I know the village attorney can attest to this, I know the village clerk can attest to this, I know some of the people in this room, whether they want to or not, attest to it. I know the newspaper can attest to it. The meetings before were very, very, very bad. So I don't think that that's happening in any way, shape, or form. And I have absolutely no problem with anybody questioning anything at any time. But I just want the board to realize a little bit too that, you know, we all got elected by the community. And during a 20-inch snowstorm, you get calls at 2 in the morning. I got people on Facebook who are town employees saying that, you know, sidewalks are the responsibility of the municipality. You know, making digs here, making digs there. You know, I also was dealing with the fire department and making sure we were able to get emergency services through some of the streets. That's why some of the streets had the sidewalks snow removed, depending on where people parked and parking patterns. We also had to try to get parking lots cleared from cars so that we could clear them so that the cars could go back if we had a snowstorm. We also were preparing for the next snowstorm. You know, it's not that you get 20 inches of snow and everything stops. You have to prepare for the next snowstorm and the next 4 or 5 inches or the next 10 inches or whatever. So, you know, that's why most municipalities in Orange County declared a state of emergency. That's why the county declares a state of emergency. Now, when that happens, depending on if it's a mayor or a supervisor or the county executive, there's a little flexibility in how you move around. The contractors that we used in the snow removal, as I said before, were the same contractors we've used in the past. The commensurate amounts that they use were commensurate with the industry. You know, you can go rent a truck for $135 an hour, but you need a driver too. You know, our folks were working.
That's with the driver.
Whoa, hold on.
$135 an hour is.
Whoa, hold on, let me finish, I didn't interrupt you. You know, you need a driver, or you need an operator for a backhoe. The backhoe just doesn't come at a certain rate, you need to have an operator to operate that backhoe. Our folks were 15 hours, 16 hours going straight, they have to take a break. That's not Jim's rule, that's the rule. If they go 20 hours, they have to take a break. You know, the next day we have things to do. That's why the private contractors were pulled. I understand it's not a number anybody wants to, I get it, I didn't, believe me. I was on the phone, stop this one, that's enough over here, move it over there, that's enough on this street, I was driving around, Mr. Raymond and I were driving around. So I get it, and I was getting calls from the fire department, I was getting calls at 2 in the morning, I was out on the street, I was out here doing this, I was out here doing that, and sometimes in those situations, we can't have a whole committee discussion to spend $50 or $100 or $5,000. Because at the end of the day, the residents need to get the job done. And I actually checked with some other residents too. I actually talked to folks who I trust. Some of them are sitting in this room. And what do you think? How's that? What do you think? You've done this. You've been in this business. What do you think? Is this a good? So I really appreciate it. And everything that we need to do as a board, by all means, the clerk is constantly watching me. I'm watching myself. I always consult the handbook. I always consult NICOM. I always consult our attorney if I need to call her. I don't think I call her as much as she wants me to, but I definitely call NICOM or I bounce it off our labor attorney. We have some things to talk about tonight in executive session. So I'm not going to be that person that haphazardly just goes and flies off the handle. I also take very big concern on our budget and our spending patterns and forecast how we're looking and how things are coming in and how our revenues are coming in. It's very important to me. You guys all know that. I would hope that you know that. And if you don't know it, you know it now for sure. So as things come in, obviously, I will always come to you guys with whatever we need to come, you know, to work together on and be together on. But there are gonna be certain instances in an emergency situation where we have to just move. And that's why I had to make some decisions that we had to make. And I did speak to some of you individually. So, you know, and that's okay. I appreciate the back and forth, and it's very good dialogue, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that. It's very healthy here. We constantly question each other, we constantly work through things, all of us, so I think that's good. And I think the feedback from a majority of the community is very positive. I constantly get phone calls, I get text messages, and I think overall we're doing a good job. Does not mean that we don't have some areas of improvement, and I think we continue to do that. I think this board has gotten a lot done in the last 10 months than most boards have in the last few years, or several years. So I respect all of you very much, and I would never abuse that respect. So please understand that, nor the community. As Mr. Wells famously said tonight, I am replaceable. I'm very well aware of that. So if we're okay, I need to get a motion to go into executive.
Just real quick.
Oh.
So, no, I just.
Sorry, MJ, I was close.
You're so close, sir. But, you know, there was frustration out there on the snow cleanup. And people were very frustrated as we were driving around. And I was with the mayor, and we're going down one street, and people were a little hot, but that's okay. We went around the corner, and here comes the plow truck. So we sent them right up to that guy's street. And it got done within like 2 minutes, which we were blessed. It happened. But he came back and apologized. So sometimes you just have to take it in a little bit and say, it's okay. But yeah, it was nice that the plow truck was there, and it was even nicer when he came back and said, sorry, I was a little hot. He wasn't trying to melt the snow with that heat, but it would have helped.
That doesn't happen in every community. In a small community, we're very lucky that you're able to do that, send somebody else your personal request. That's why a little more kindness to the guys doing the request would be nice.
That's it. Thank you.
Well, we've talked a lot about snow. And I just want to make a statement that emergency, yes, I understand it. Emergency does not negate accountability though. And you said that you reached out to some people for consultation. You didn't call me not one time during the whole snowstorm. And I am someone that's a part of your
We
team.
literally talked the day after, they were still doing stuff.
Like 3 days after, and I called you. I said, you did not call me not one time the whole storm. It's fine, I'm just saying that you have people at your disposal that are on your team. Like, we're a board here together, we're supposed to be a team that is working to manage all of the ongoings of a municipality. You gotta utilize what expertise you have at your disposal. So I would hope that you would call me when it comes to situations like this, because I do have a lot more knowledge than maybe I'm giving credit for, so.
Sounds good to me. I need a motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
To discuss, hold on a second, for all those folks that are eagerly wanting to know. Discuss personal matters in BESS?
And I want to bring you up to date.
Yeah, and we got some litigation to get updated on. Motion by, what was it?
Motion.
Trustee Ramus, seconded by
Second?
Trustee Olivia, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you all, have a great night.